Hey everybody, hello from Phoenix. I just went for a walk to get my morning coffee and it was 104 degrees already. It's going to be 113 degrees for tonight's game, the first against Arizona Diamondbacks. This is Phoenix in June, Phoenix in June and July. Great time to come here. But I guess a lot of players love living here in the off season. So I guess in the off season it's nice. Spring training it's nice. It's very, very hot here right now. What is not hot right now? You like that transition? Is the San Francisco Giants 1-5 to start what really is in a lot in every way the easiest 2 weeks of their schedule. After Phoenix, they go to West Sacramento to face the A's, who have had a very rough year. A lot of drama right now with their pitchers, with Luis Severino in particular, not happy to be there. But this little stretch, this 4 games against the Diamondbacks, was supposed to be really the only challenge in this 2 weeks part of the schedule. The Marlins are a little frisky, but still, they have not been very good this year. You shouldn't get swept at home by the Marlins. You shouldn't lose a series at home to the Marlins. But this is the easy part, and Giants so far 1-5. Really rough week. One of the roughest weeks they've had in the last few years. It reminded me of a few weeks ago, someone asked Logan when they couldn't score any runs if this was a low point, and he was like, "We've seen lower the last few years," which is true, but haven't had many weeks like that. I think just in a lot of ways, even when they try to get in on the beanballs, it comes back to bite them. Hayden Birdsong immediately gives up some runs after that. So just nothing went right for the Giants last week. Wanted to break down some of that before they start this Diamondback series. First, the offense, the lack of offense. That is the big story right now, obviously. This one stunned me when I looked at it. I went back to that Wilmer Forest game, the three-homer game, and obviously after that they went 16 straight without scoring more than 4 runs. That was a big deal. There were a few better days after that, but in general, it's kind of gotten back to where they were there. 39 games since the Wilmer three home run game. 28 of them, they've scored 4 runs or less. So, in a lot of ways, they are still doing what they did for that 2.5 week stretch. They certainly did that in Chicago. And you look at the 11 where they scored five or more, three were at Coors Field. One was thanks to the Red Sox gifting them 500 runs. Remember the line drive went through a second baseman's glove. And one was the Dodgers game where Kike Hernandez pitched and Casey Schmidt hit a grand slam late. So they, made that one look a little bit better. But just in general, you go back the last 40 games, about 39 games total, and there's very few exceptions, but they're just scoring 2 runs every night. They can't get past four, even against bad teams. So maybe at Chase Field, maybe summertime in Phoenix, maybe the ball will fly here, but that's been a huge problem for them. I went to my stat department here on YouTube, which is David Tedwa, our pre and post game show producer. The last 45 games, the Giants have a 189 average with runners in scoring position. That is obviously last in the majors. That is what you've seen the last couple weeks, but you have seen it for the last 45 games. 189 average. I mean, that's like a good hitting pitcher. And that's the entire team. So that is a huge problem. That was a huge problem in Chicago. That was a huge problem against the Marlins. And individually, I think you're seeing what really stands out. I mean, people say, what are the fixes? These are mostly their guys. I mean, Matt Chapman will be back, I think, pretty quickly. He's ramping things up. I think he could be back by the end of this week, if not next week on the homestand. They're aiming for the Dodgers series. I think he's going to beat that. But these are their guys. Rafael Devers, 724 OPS since the trade. That's fine. It's fine. He hasn't been a problem. He also has not been the world beater that they traded for. They haven't really had the guy who was in Boston. They need him to be a 900 OPS, 900 plus OPS centerpiece of the lineup, especially as he DHs. 724, not what they expected the first couple weeks here. Jung-Hoo Lee in June hitting 150, 576 OPS. It's been really, really rough. I don't know if he's worn down. They've tried different things. They've tried to give him some breaks. They say he's healthy. The defense has been really good, but it's not going to work when that happens. And one thing that stood out to me was last Wednesday's game. Jung-Hoo Lee and Willy Adames hitting in the 6, 7 spots in the order. That's about $300 million in investments. In a lineup, this isn't the Dodgers lineup where you have Ohtani and Betts and Freeman at the top, and it's like, okay, yeah, Michael Conforto, you can hit eighth, and you're making a ton of money. This isn't that. These guys are supposed to be hitting first and second, or second and fourth, somewhere in the top half. And because of production or lack of production, they have those guys at times hitting sixth, seventh. Lee, for the last couple weeks, has been down there. So that's just a huge problem, and it's going to have to come what's the solution here? It's the guys who are the main guys. They have to hit. Um, you can talk about the hitting coach all you want. They can't keep firing coaches. I mean, they got rid of a lot of coaches the last few years. They got rid of their hitting coach, Justin Veely's in Texas now. At some point, it has to be on the players as well. And I think these guys know that. It's just not breaking news to these players. But yeah, when you have your main guys, the guys who are taking up most of the payroll, the guys who are supposed to be everyday players, when they're struggling, in Lee's case, when they are really, really struggling, this is like, it's simple, right? It's going to be hard to score runs. The other thing that's happening offensively, this should be fixable, is the way they're running the bases. Some of these are mistakes you should just not make as a professional. The Brett Wisely play that's a really, really creative way to not score with a runner on third to run yourself out of that rally. That's a horribly creative way, but stuff like that shouldn't happen. Some of the stuff Tyler Fitzgerald was doing shouldn't happen. These are speedy guys. These are guys who have run in the minors. They should know better. I think they would say that as well. Tyler has said that many times. Some of these mistakes shouldn't be happening. Obviously, part of the reason why he's in AAA now, they're trying to fix him there, but I think that has been a huge issue. Why is it happening? It's hard to tell. I mean, I think it's everything. One is some guys who maybe don't have the greatest instincts. And then two, I mean, Matt Williams did not have a good week. I don't think he's had a good few weeks. He's trying to be aggressive for a team that's not scoring runs. And Bob Melvin was asked after both games against the Marlins about it. He said, I don't have a problem with it. We're trying to score runs. In the Jung-Hoo Lee case, he says, we're trying to win a game. But yeah, I think they probably need to take a look at what they're doing there and whether they're being too aggressive there. It's funny because early on they ran the bases really well the first couple weeks, and then they started running into some outs, and I heard the coaching staff got a little bit spooked and they pulled back a little bit. It seems like this lack of scoring, and there was a long stretch, I think I talked about it here, where they weren't stealing bases all of a sudden. It seems like that pushed them to be a little bit more aggressive again. Maybe they're a little bit better off just with this roster pulling back. This is not a roster built for base running aggression. I think it's a roster built for, the problem is when you're not scoring that runner from third anyway, you want to be aggressive and push him, but that's probably easier with this group than trying to be aggressive on the bases. So that hasn't worked. Overall, most outs on the bases. The Giants have the sixth most outs. It's an interesting list. The bottom six: the Rays, Nationals, Royals, Marlins, Padres, and the Giants. So there are some good-ish teams in there who run the bases very poorly and make a lot of outs there. But this Giants team, they play too many close games to be giving away runners on third or giving away rallies with the guy rounding first too hard or rounding second too hard, stuff like that. That's been an issue. And the last thing I wanted to touch on here, the bullpen, the last few days, not a great Sunday for those guys, obviously. Poor Justin Verlander has when he pitches poorly, he's very open about it and says, I'll get better. When he pitches well, the bullpen blows it or they don't score runs. He is the first guy to ever enter a season with 200 plus wins or 3,000 plus strikeouts and go 13 starts without picking up a win. This hasn't happened before. Cannot imagine he came here thinking he would leave San Francisco in the 260s, especially if they were better than expected. And for all that's gone wrong, they still have a better record than anybody really could have predicted at this point. For Justin to have not picked up a single win, to not chip off any of that at this point is remarkable and really bad luck for him. The bullpen's got him a couple times. Sunday, it was Eric Miller, it was Ryan Walker. I would imagine, I was not in Chicago, I would imagine Tyler Rogers was unavailable. That would have been 4 out of 5 days for him. I've mentioned here, and I've mentioned on Giants Talk a lot, they're very, very careful with Randy Rodriguez. Can't really go back to back too often. If you listen to Monday's Giants Talk podcast, I talked to JP Martinez about him, and I think they feel like at some point they can maybe unleash him if they get to the postseason. But they're being very, very careful with him right now. And Rodgers, they're trying to be a little bit more careful. They can't, he can't pitch in half the games every single season, especially heading into free agency. Just not reasonable. They're trying to be more careful. So other guys have to step up. To Ryan Walker's defense, since he got pulled from the closer role, had a 2.63 ERA. So he had been doing okay. Um, but he's not the guy he was the last 2 years. And I think the disappointing part is took him out of the ninth. He hasn't been able to be that guy who comes in and just gets you out of jams consistently in the middle innings. Eric Miller, he was due for one of these. He had a 1 ERA and like a 4 FIP, a 4.3 expected ERA. So the numbers on him have been kind of screaming that there's some regression coming for a long time. The Giants knew that. Um, Poor timing for it to happen. Not in a game that they're losing, a game that they're trying to hold on and get Verlander a win and clinch a series. And he struggles a little bit. I think he'll be fine. He'll ultimately be okay. I think Walker will be fine too. But it is a bullpen that has been very good all year. It doesn't have as many guys that you 100% of the time trust is maybe you would think looking at the numbers. And this is going to happen. I think my main thing with the bullpen is lineups put way too much pressure on those guys to pitch in one-run games, two-run games for the entire season, but especially the last 40 games. It's too much pressure, and there's going to be nights where they struggle. And when that happens, everyone goes on social media and says, DFA this guy, get rid of this guy. Take a look at the Arizona Diamondbacks bullpen for the next 4 days and let me know if you think they would like some of these Giants relievers. Some of these guys would be pitching the ninth for them very easily, or the eighth at least, or high leverage spots. So a rough week for the bullpen. They were due for that, but I don't think there's any issues there. Still a bright spot on this team. Offensively, they need to figure it out, and Chapman should help a little bit. Arizona will help. The Heat will help. Has not been a very good Arizona pitching staff this year. So that will help, but they need to figure something out because again, this goes back to the Wilmer game, the 3 home run game, and we're talking a quarter of the season where you are struggling to score more than 4 runs, and a lot of nights struggling to score more than 2 runs. And it's like, how does all this happen? Well, it's pretty simple. That's what's going on.